Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you might want to buckle up for this one because when I show you this information, when I show you these cold, hard facts, it's going to put fear into your heart. At least it should put fear into your heart because Georgia is already getting scarier, and that's not good. Growing up as a college football fan, I never took Georgia serious. I'll never forget the first big-time Georgia game I watched, and that was all the way back, this is a major throwback, in 2008 when they had the blackout game against Alabama. This was Nick Saban's second year at Alabama. Julio Jones, star wide receiver, he was our best player, and we also had John Parker Wilson at quarterback. Alabama and Nick Saban were ranked 8th in the country, and Georgia was ranked 3rd. All I heard leading up to that game was how good Georgia was. They had Matt Stafford, future NFL star quarterback. They had Noshawn Marino and also AJ Green. Georgia and Mark Richt were supposed to teach Nick Saban a lesson, and yeah, at halftime it was 31-0. And ever since that day, I never took Georgia serious. I always thought they were a good team, but I never thought they were a great team. They couldn't get over the hump. But here we are, 15-something years later, and my opinion on them has completely changed. And it's kind of miraculous to think the only thing that was holding Georgia and Mark Richt back was winning that big-time game. As we all know, though, Georgia and Kirby Smart, they have recently went back-to-back, and they are on top of the world. At this current moment in time, they're not just a great team, they're an elite team. They're outstanding. I think we can all agree on that. Georgia is an elite football program and team. But ladies and gentlemen, to everyone that is not a Georgia fan, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Georgia and Kirby Smart just got 5 times scarier. I really don't want to overhype this situation, but when I was doing some of my research, getting ready for this video, when I myself looked at the cold hard facts, it scared me. Let tonight's video be a warning. This is your disclaimer before what's going to happen in the future. We're going to talk all about that in tonight's video, but also we got to take a look at this new top 100 college football player list that just came out. I hope all of you had a great week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. As always, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you a part of our community. All right, Matt, blah, blah, blah. Shut the crap up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I'm feeling good. It's Friday. The weekend's here. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope you guys are looking forward to it. But first things first, I hope you're looking forward to this video because we got a lot to talk about. I can't even believe this, but my man Michael on Twitter sent me a tweet. Said, yo, Matt, can we start counting down the days or not? And guess what? We are less than 100 days before the college football season. I'm telling you guys, I've been trying to tell y'all day after day, you're going to go to the pool, you're going to go on a vacation, going to hang out with some of your friends. Next thing you know, it's going to be August 15th. This off season is already halfway over, and I couldn't be any happier to say that. My glass is always halfway full. It's not halfway empty. And plus, too, it doesn't even really feel like we've had an off season just because so much crap has been going on. And oh yeah, by the way, you know how I said in the intro we're going to talk about the top 100 player list? Well, that's going to be a different video, probably uploaded in the next few days because I got carried away. I went on my typical Matt Be Great rant, so we're just going to focus on Georgia. I don't think you guys will mind either way. If you are interested in that, just stay tuned for that topic in the next couple of days. Oh man, I got some bad news for the rest of the college football world. So a few days ago, I'm sure you heard the news. If you didn't, you gotta be living under a rock. Georgia landed the #1, not just quarterback in the country, but the #1 player in the country in Dylan Raiola. We've already talked about that enough. I've hyped it up enough. Outstanding pickup. And by the way, that's a little foreshadowing. We'll talk back and pick up on that subject in just a second. Or not just a second, but just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you might want to buckle up for this one because when I show you this information, when I show you these cold, hard facts, it's going to put fear into your heart. At least it should put fear into your heart because Georgia is already getting scarier, and that's not good. A few days ago, we talked about Georgia, and I'm going to piggyback off of this, where I told you guys Georgia has always been the best job in college football. When you ask somebody in a different country who's the best team in college football, even with Georgia going back-to-back, everybody's going to say Alabama. That's just the gold standard. Alabama, Alabama, Alabama. Bear Bryant, he's one of the greatest of all time. They got Nick Saban. Everybody thinks that Alabama is the best job in the country, but it's not. It's Georgia. Georgia has always been the best job in the country, and it will remain that way unless something significant changes it. The only thing that has held Georgia back over the years is a great and an elite head coach. Well, now they got one. And now that they've gotten that elite head coach, what happened? They went back-to-back. So that right there alone proves when I say that's all they were lacking, because they get an elite coach and, What do you know? They go back to back. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Georgia's always been the best job, plain and simple. Kirby Smart takes over the job from Art Rigg. He develops and gets his scheme into there. He turns Georgia into a defensive monster. Everybody knew Kirby Smart when he was at Alabama. He was the best defensive coordinator in the country, hands down. That's why Georgia hired him, because they knew if they hired him, he would bring those same core principles at Alabama over to Georgia. And yeah, that's exactly what's happened. Kirby Smart has taken the blueprint that he learned from Nick Saban, and he just applied it to Georgia. That's all there is to it, guys. You don't have to overcomplicate things. Kirby Smart just saw what Alabama was doing. He learned what they were doing, and when he got his job and his opportunity, he applied it. My point in saying that is, Kirby Smart has spent years and years and years trying to develop Georgia into a defensive powerhouse. And finally, in about 2020, 2021, they turned into that defensive monster. Ever since 2021, when they won their first championship, Georgia has been the best defensive team in the country, and it hasn't even been close. The gap from Georgia and everybody else is so far you can't even compare it. But, and I have a big but, with that being said, what was the only downside of Georgia? I think you know where I'm going with this, and you probably already answered the question. Offense. Offense. And it really wasn't even talent, because they've always had 4- and 5-star running backs and wide receivers. It was more so of quarterbacks. For some odd reason, and it's the only knock on Kirby Smart, he hasn't been able to nail the quarterback position. Nick Saban has nailed it. I mean, heck, look what he's done with the past 3 or 4 quarterbacks. His past 4 quarterbacks are now starting in the NFL. Nick Saban's done everything. You can't knock Nick Saban in any aspect of his coaching game, which is crazy to even think about. But for Kirby Smart in Georgia, you can't necessarily go there and check off, hey, they're good at developing quarterbacks. You can't check that off quite just yet. Well, why don't you check this out? Your boy Matt had some free time on his hands, and I was doing some research. Dating all the way back to 2017, Georgia has always had their defense ranked inside the top 12 in total defense. I'm going to say that again. Ever since 2017, Georgia has always had a top 12 total defense. And really, I think it's more so of a top 5. Some of the schools that have beat them out over the past couple of years has been schools like Appalachian State, Southern Missouri, and some no-name schools. In reality, though, we know Georgia's defense is better than Appalachian State's. But these are going off of the official stats, so you know how it goes. They're not playing the same opponents. Because trust me, if Appalachian State was playing in the SEC, they wouldn't have a top 12 defense in 2018. But the point is, Georgia has had a top 12 defense since 2017, so running on 6 years straight now. In 2021, they was second in total defense, right behind Wisconsin, and in 2022, which was last year, they were still in the top 10. So you can see defense getting better and better and better every single season Kirby Smart's there. And I don't expect that trend to go downwards anytime soon. It's going to maintain or get better. Check this out. From 2016 up until 2021, Georgia's offense never, and I mean never, was ranked inside the top 30, and a couple of those years they were ranked outside the top 60. There was a 5-year stretch where Georgia's offense was never in the top 30 in the country. Yet again, that is from 2016 up until 2021. And throughout that span, they were competing for championships. But ladies and gentlemen, why don't you take a look at this right here? You see that. Georgia finished 2022 with a top 5 overall offense. Tennessee was number 1, Washington was 2, USC 3, UCLA was 4, that kind of shocked me, and Georgia was number 5, averaging over 500 yards a game. Remember, 2016 through 2021, Georgia didn't even have a top 30 offense, never. But all of a sudden, randomly in 2022, they got a top 5 offense. Going up from outside the top 30 to the top 5 in 1 year, that is a crazy jump. But just like with anything in life, you got to ask the question, why did this happen? Well, my friend, that's a great question, and I have a great and simple answer. It wasn't wide receiver play. They didn't have elite wide receivers. One of their best wide receivers was Ladd McConkey. No disrespect to Ladd McConkey, I've given him a ton of credit, but you get what I'm saying. They didn't have 5-star wide receivers lined up everywhere, and they didn't have 5-star running backs everywhere. What took Georgia's offense to a completely different level last year was quarterback play. That's it. That is the only reason they jumped inside the top 5, because of Stetson Bennett. Because think about it, from 2016 through 2021, they never had great quarterback play. So in the stats, they were never ranked inside the top 30. Let me ask you a question. Do you really think it's a coincidence from 2016 through 2021 they didn't have great quarterback play, so therefore their offense was never inside the top 30? Do you think that's a coincidence? Because I don't. That should go to show and prove to you the only thing that was holding back was quarterback play. That's it. That was it. That was the missing piece. Kirby Smart has found the last piece to the puzzle. They finally, over Kirby Smart's many years of being there, got a quarterback to play halfway decent. They finally had a quarterback step up in big-time games and make some big-time throws. Well, now guess what? Heading into 2023, we know their defense is going to be good. Georgia's never going to have a mediocre defense. It's always going to be good or great, if not better. But here's the scary part about this, guys. They now have great quarterback play. They now have a guy in Carson Beck who was looking like a flamethrower in the spring game. I don't want to jump the gun on this, but already from what I've seen, Carson Beck looks better than Stetson Bennett. And then, to go on top of that, they didn't need any more help, but they're now getting the #1 player in the country in Dylan Raiola. Even if Carson Beck balls out next year, I highly doubt he'd go to the NFL. So at bare minimum, you're looking at for the next 3 years, Georgia's going to have great quarterback play. Georgia having great quarterback play, it should terrify you, because if Georgia's quarterback plays great, you have no shot of winning. You don't have a shot, and I mean a shot in the dark, of beating this Georgia team if their quarterback plays the way he should. I'm telling you, if you ain't a Georgia fan, this ain't good news. Think about this, and we'll end off the video here. Georgia was humiliating teams like Oregon and TCU with Stetson Bennett. What do you think they're going to do if Carson Beck lives up to the hype? What do you think they're going to do if Dylan Raiola lives up to the hype? I'm just saying. This is your warning. This is your disclaimer. I'm warning you. I'm very curious, though. Let me know your thoughts down below. But